When Yaakov Avinu comes down to Mitzrayim and he stands in front of Paro, Paro asks him a question. Vayomer Paro el Yaakov. Paro says to Yaakov, Kama Yemei Shnei Chayecha, how long are the days of your life? Vayomer Yaakov el Paro, so Yaakov says to Paro, Yemei Shnei Megurai, the days of my journeys, Shloshim Ume'as Shana, 130 years, Me'at V'ra'im Hayu Yemei Shnei Chayai, and the days of my life are short and they are bitter. On this pasuk, the Das Zikanim Tosfos has a fascinating insight. Says the Das Zikanim, what was the impetus? Why was it that Paro asked Yaakov about his life? Because he looked particularly old. His hair was white, he was all wrinkled, he looked much older. He didn't understand how old is this man. And to that he responds, my life isn't as long as I look, but it's been so difficult that because of that, Zikna Kafza Alai. I became elderly. I became this position of looking old. Then he goes to Medrash. The Medrash says, at that moment when Yaakov says, my days of my life are short and difficult, God says to him, what are you talking about? I saved you from Esav. I saved you for Lavan. And I returned Dinah from you after she was taken by Shechem. Gam Yosef. And I now reunited you with Yosef. Now you're complaining about your life being so terrible. Chayecha, by my life, again, a lashon of Shavua. Sheminyan tevos, the number of words. Sheyesh min vayomer ad b'yimei megurai kach yachsu mishnosecha. Take the number of words in these two psukim, where Par begins to ask until the end of the pasuk is 33 words. Those 33 words are going to each represent a year, and that is going to be diminished from your life. Your father lived, Yitzchak lived for 180 years, and Yaakov only lived for 147 years. And the question is, what did Yaakov do wrong? What did Yaakov do wrong? Yaakov was asked a question. Paro wants to know, something doesn't seem to add up. Are you really as old as you look? And Yaakov needs to explain it. I'm not as old as I look. But the reason that I look as old as I look is because of my experiences. My life has been difficult. He was answering Paro's question. What's the difficulty? So Reb Henoch Leibowitz Zatzal explains that had Yaakov said that I had many difficulties, and because of those difficulties, kofza alai zikna, I became elderly, I started looking this way, there would have been nothing wrong with that. He would not have been punished by having all these years diminished. The problem is that Yaakov defined his life as me'at v'ra'im, as being bad, as not being good. And that was the problem. You cannot define your life that way, because at the end of the day, your life was filled with so many brachos as well. And of those sorrows, of those difficulties that came, God saved you so many times. And that is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying to Yaakov. You're complaining that it was me'at v'ra'im. The problem was that he defined his life in that way. How could that happen? How could that happen to somebody as great as Yaakov Avinu? Yaakov didn't realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had saved him from Lavan, had saved him from Esav, reunited him with Yosef, the dream that he wanted to come back. How could it be? And the answer is that human nature is such that sometimes when we have such difficulties, we forget the chesed. We don't focus as much on the goodness and on the bracha in our lives. We often assume that things are going to be okay and that things are going to be good until they are otherwise. And when those bad things happen, then we turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it's when everything that happens, and even when things are going well, that is also certainly comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. So on Yaakov Avinu's level, there was a mistake here. And if on Yaakov Avinu's level there was a mistake here, then certainly we need to be so careful about, even when we are distracted, and Rachmana litzlan have some difficulties in our lives, and we have some challenges, not to let it define our days, to remember that our lives also have the brachas, to seek those brachas out, because sometimes that's what gives us that little bit of light to get through those difficult situations. That is what the pasuk, that's what the Medrash is trying to teach us. Do not define our lives as ma'at v'ro'im, and we'll get through it. But part of how we get through the difficulties is by remembering that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the source of all. He's the source of bracha, and He can bring us the Yeshua when we most need it. We should all be zocheh that as Hanukkah comes to its conclusion, that the light of Hanukkah should remain lit and light up our lives and bring us times of Yeshua, Lanu Ulechol Yisrael.